Okay, so we're going to continue with lesson 9, and I'm going to insert another table. It's going to be from tabular data this time, instead of using creating a table from scratch, or creating a table using what was it, the last one that we did, importing one. So what we're going to do is we're going to create, this will be imported as well, but it's not going to be an HTML file. It's going to be from tabular data, which would be like importing an Excel file. That would be a way of doing that. So let's see, Fernando. I'm taking roll as we're doing this, so. Jared. No. Okay, so let me go ahead. I've already started recording. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen. And it's going to be this screen. So I'm sure that. So I'm hopeful that everybody can see where we left off last Thursday. This is the green events and classes pages. We added this table and styled it. So now what we're going to do is add tabular data. As I said, that is basically adding data from an Excel page, for example. So the first thing that we want to do to add another table after the one that we have just completed is to go ahead and to select not just the table, but what I'm going to do, I mean, I can start by selecting it using the tag selector, but I want to select the section tag that's wrapped around it. Okay. So let's select the table again. And I'm going to select the section, and that section should be, there we go. There's the section tag. That's what I want selected. And then what I need to do to insert the tabular data is like we did last week. And there's really no rhyme or reason for this, is that I need to switch from live view to design view. You just need to know that. And with the section selected, if I hit the right arrow in the lower right-hand corner of my keyboard, you'll notice that the cursor is right after it. It's flashing right after that, so that after the table, so that now that if I insert the tabular data, it will be inserted outside of that tag, and it will be inserted right after it. So that's another way of doing that. So now what I can do is I can go to File, and I want to import, and I want to import tabular data. Boom. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and browse the file. And I need to look inside my root folder, and they provided this for us. And it should be inside resources. And it should be the classes, the CSV file. That's what we want to import. So I'll go ahead and I'll click OK. And what I want is cell padding and spacing. Borders, I want none, so I need to put 0 here. And under table width, set to percentage, and we're just going to select 100%. Because this is going to be overridden by the styles that we've created anyway. But that's what they want us to do in here. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. If I scroll down, you can see that we have another one here. Notice that the formatting looks a little bit awkward though. Even if I switch from design view back to live view, and I scroll back up, notice that it doesn't take on any of the properties yet of the table that we have above. And the reason for that is because we need to put the table in a section tag. So I can select the entire table. So let's do that. Let's select the whole table. I'm going to go back to design view and make sure that the table is selected. And then what I want to do is I want to insert. So let's make sure that I'm going to go ahead and insert. And I'm going to go to HTML. And I want to insert a section tag. I'm not going to do that here. Let's go back over here. I'm going to go back to live view for a minute, because this is causing me some angst here for a moment. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that the table is selected again. And then with the table selected, I'm going to do it from the DOM. And so with the table selected, I can go ahead and click here. Come on. And I want to add, so I'm having difficulty here, I don't like that. Come on. Let me switch. I got to move some stuff around here. You know what? Screw it. I'm just going to put it in by hand. Well, anytime I have challenges like that, sometimes it's easier just to go inside the code itself and put it in. So I'm just going to do that. Add my section tag. And put in the end tag. Closing tag, and I'm just going to copy that tag and paste it at the very end of the table. And then boom, boom, we're done. So cut that, go to the very end. It's down here a ways. Got all these table rows. There's the end of our table right there. So I'm going to hit the return key and I'm going to press Command V. And now, if I scroll down, notice that most of the table, in fact, has been styled now. But because we have an additional column, we need to deal with that, and we need to assign some new classes and copy classes from the previous table and assign them to the ones in here so that our formatting looks a little bit cleaner. Before I do, though, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click up here. And I want to select everything. I'm going to switch back to design view. I want to select the entire top row. And what I want to do at the bottom now in my properties folder is that, I don't know if you can see it down at the bottom here, there's a little checkbox for header. And as soon as I check that, notice that the top row with class description, length, day, and cost has now been formatted similar to what we have up here. So we're set to go. We're in pretty good shape. And again, sometimes for me, rather than dealing with copy and paste and adding things and adding sections from the DOM or wherever, inserting it, just easier for me to do it in the code view. So that's what I've done here. So we're in good shape. So the next thing that we need to do, and I need to, is we're going to take the cost from this one here, okay? We're going to take the cost and we're going to assign it to the cost down here as well, okay? So remember what we did here in order to assign each of these columns a different selector? Well, I need to do the same thing. So again, I'll switch back to design view. Let's go ahead and I'm going to click and drag, highlight all of these. And I'm going to come up, or come down here, I should say. And the class is Oh, that's the one up there. I didn't want that. Sorry, I need to do this one. This one hasn't been assigned yet. There we go. That's already been assigned to cost. This is cost as well. So we're going to go ahead and assign that the same thing. Notice that no class at the bottom has been assigned. But if I click here and I scroll down to the C's, since I guess this is done alphabetically, and I can find the cost in the midst of all of this. And I assigned that what we had used before, that will be just fine. Come on. It's down here somewhere. Okay, cost. There we go. Boom. So that's done. Okie doke. So we've assigned that. So the next thing that we want to do is, hold on, because we're going to copy and paste. What I want to do is I want to select under over here. Let's go back to our CSS designer. And I'm going to switch back to design to live view. We can go back there for a moment. And again, I have to move some things around on my screen that you don't see that I do, and they're kind of interfering with what I can do here. So let's move this down a little bit so I can see my classes. And I want to see all. And what I want to do is select green styles. And I'm going to select the cost one again. So I want section cost. Okay. And it's selected that, and we're going to apply it to the class one or create one for that. So I'm going to hit control key and click on here. And I want to copy all the styles. So all the styles that have been applied to section cost have been copied. Okie doke. So I've got all of those copied. Now what I want to do is to create a new selector called section.day. And that's going to be applied to this one here. So let's go ahead and add one. So I'm going to select that again and create a new one. And I'll call section space dot day. Hit the return key twice. So we've got that. And now I can right click or can control click on here. Now I'm going to go ahead and paste the styles that have been applied to it. Now notice that nothing happens to the day because we haven't assigned a selector to it yet. Not a selector, but a class to that yet. So I'm going to switch back from live view to design view. And now I'm going to go ahead and select all of these in the day. There we go. And I'm going to come down to our class in the properties panel. And let's go to the D's, and hopefully we have day that has been added here. Under the D's. If I scroll too quickly, there we go, it's right down there. Boom, so now that is fixed. Okie doke. So now we're gradually, fixing the appearance of this. And probably the last thing that we're going to do from here is we're going to add captions to all of this. So a couple of more things that we need to do now is we're going to create a new section again called length. So I'm going to switch back to live view just so I can see this all a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and add here, and I'm going to call this one section space dot length. And actually, I kind of goofed. I mean, I did and I didn't. It's just a different way of doing it. I'm going to go ahead and fix that. Instead, what the book wants us to do, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove length. Instead, what I want to do is I'm going to select the cost one. Okay, it's up here. section cost. There we go. So by selecting it, what I can do is I can duplicate this and then rename it. And that's what they've chosen to do. So just a different approach. I could have done it the other way, but I'm going to go ahead and control. And I'm going to go ahead up here. If I control and click on that, I can say duplicate. So now I have section cost, and I'm going to rename it though to section length. Just another way of adding another selector and customizing it. And like we've done before, notice over here, down below, okay, this hasn't been assigned yet. So I have to switch back from live view to design view and scroll down. And under length, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to highlight all of these so that I can assign a class to it. Again, under the L's, we'll go ahead and assign a class. So that's down away. G. It's down pretty far. This isn't a very efficient way of adding classes. There it is, right there. Boom. So that fixes that one. So the next thing we have to fix class and description. So the next one we're going to do is we're going to duplicate, in this particular case, similar to what I just did, we're going to duplicate the date. So let's take section date and control or right click on that. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate. And this one now is going to be section dot class. Okay, double click. We have the same deal. So we have the class that is where we copied the date from that, but this needs to be reformatted. So I need to switch to, I guess I'm already in design view. So let's go back down here, select all of these. Just clicking and dragging to highlight them all. I find that to be probably the easiest way to do it. And then let's go down here. And we're going to add class under the C's. So class right there. Okay. So that looks okay, I believe. And we have the last one. We have, we're going to go ahead and duplicate event from up here. So let's take section event and duplicate it as we've done before. This is a nice way of working. So I'm duplicating it. And this one now will be description. Foreign key twice. And with that selected, we got that. And then the same thing. Under description, we have to select all of these and assign that to it as well. So all of these have been properly formatted. So under class, go ahead, under the D's, we should have a description now. Well, and let's switch back to live view and see how all of this looks. Much better. Okie doke. So we have our, in this particular situation, we have created a table from tabular data, which is probably from an Excel document. We've applied some existing styles from our previous table. We've also created new styles, and we've also duplicated existing styles and applied them to new styles. The last thing that we want to do in here for this part of the exercise is if we go back over here to the finished version, you'll notice over here that we have captions that have been added where it says 2017 event schedule. And when we scroll down and we see 2017 class schedule, okay, that's exactly what these are. These are captions, and these can be done from the code view. You can leave it split view, or you can go entirely to code view. But what I want to do is I want to select the entire table first. So let's go back over to ours, not the finished one. Let me go ahead and save all of this before I do any more. File, save all. There we go. You forget to do that. So let's start up here at the top. Let's select this table. Select the table. There we go. And I'm going to push so I can see the code a little bit better here. Okay. So right after the opening tag for section, but before the table tag, what I want it to be actually is right after the table tag, the opening tag for the table. I want it to come right here. I'm going to hit the return key, and I'm going to opening tag, and this is going to be caption. And let's also add the closing tag. And then inside the caption, right here, we're going to put in here, what do we want? We want to say 2000, we'll just make it 2020. Class schedule. Or, I'm sorry, the first one is the event schedule. Sorry. Okay. And if we come back up here, notice that that's been added, but it's not formatted yet. So we need to add a new class for that. That will be the last thing that we do. So, but before I do that, I'm going to go ahead to the bottom table, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to select the table, just click anywhere inside the table, and then at the bottom, under the tag selector, select the table, and then again, right after the opening tag for the table, I'm going to put in a caption tag. And then in this one, we're going to put, again, 2020 class schedule. Okay, so now that has been added. There we go. So the final thing that we need to do is add what is called a table caption. And so we'll come back over to our selectors to the right here. I'm going to add a brand new one, and I'll name it table caption. Hit the return key twice. Click in here and make sure that the captions are highlighted in blue. And now I can proceed to add. So over here under margins, we're going to add 20 to the top. Okay, 20 pixels. That adds that. Now I can pull this down. So we can, as we're adding to this, it will add a bit. We'll see the changes. The padding on the bottom, we're going to add 10 pixels. Okay. The color is going to be for the text is going to be the green that we've used. So let's go to text, and under color, it should be this green right here, 090. No, that's good. Notice that the color is changing, so that's a good deal. Font size, we're going to switch to 160%. So let's go to font size, and that will be in percentages. We're going to switch to 160%. There you go, a little bit nicer. And we also, under the font style, we're going to select bold. No, where's bold? Sorry, not there. Font weight, my mistake. I want bold. There we go. So we have bold. And then one of the last things that we want, a couple of the last things is the line height is 1.2 ems. So line height, that's going to be in ems. We want 1.2. 1.2. There we go. And we want the text alignment to be centered. That will be the last thing. And I think we're pretty good. We're pretty much good to go. So under text, alignment, centered. There we go. That's the last thing. So I'm going to make sure that everything is saved. File, save all. So if I don't remember, if you don't save all, then that means that you're not going to save the additional classes that you've just created, the styles, to our piece. And now you'll notice that we have two really nice tables that are styled really beautifully. I think who did this exercise did really a super job. And I would encourage you, whether you use a table or not now, or perhaps in the future, that you can refer to this and style it quickly, because I would hate to style my table from scratch. It would really be very useful to use this as a guide and have this already done for myself and just insert the styles, or basically copy the styles so that I can create my own from this. Okay. That's really all I wanted to do today. The other thing that the one last thing that we're gonna do on Thursday, I can show you this now, is that we're gonna come under here, under media. If we select not all sources, but if we select our green styles, remember we added a media query for phone. Well, that's what we need to do here. We need to add for our tables and style it for phones so that when it scrolls all the way down to a teeny tiny little screen, notice how the format changes considerably. And we have a light, dark, or dark, light coloration of the background to help us in our readability. Notice how the date, event, location, and cost also change rather than be in horizontal columns. Now they're displayed vertically. And on the phone, this table would read really nicely. It would work really, really well. And as we enlarge it, it goes back to the vertical columns that we had established at the beginning here. Okay, so if there aren't any questions, and I'll leave the columns, the right and left sides to you, for you to do. I don't think that should be too difficult. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop sharing here. Boom. And questions for you. Do you have any questions about what I covered today? It's really sort of a continuation of what we did last Thursday, with the major difference being that we created a table using tabular data this time, rather than in simply importing an HTML file that already had a table created. That's pretty much it. Do any of you have any questions? No? Raise your hand if you do. Um, I'm taking roll again. Just to make sure that I see Stella's here. Walter's here today. Okay, doke. No, oh, okay. Jared, you have a question? Let me go ahead and allow you to talk if you want. Jared, do you have a question? Nunez?
Yes. You said the lessons we're gonna email. We're not gonna email the lessons until the 11th lesson. You
Yes,
said?
until lesson 11 is done. I may change my mind and wait until lesson 12 is done, but I don't know. Lesson 12 is sort of a bonus. It's adding, it's customizing your pages even further using, let's see, one of the things that they have us do is use some bootstrap components. They're not essential, but they're just nice to know and to have. Lesson 11 is essential because that is where we kind of tie all these pages together. And we add links. Yeah, so
Okay.
you're not so the question is, you're not emailing me the lessons. No, not one at a time. What you are doing is you're going to wait until you've completed lesson 11 and you're going to replace, when you publish lesson 7, you're going to replace that with lesson 11. And in lesson 11, it will have linked all of these additional pages that we have created. And so that when I see the start page or your home page, which is, remember, it has to be labeled index.html, or that will be the file name, then I'll be able to see all of these, see all of the pages that you've completed. Okay? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and the movie rise is supposed to be due this week, right?
I would prefer that it be done this week. If you finish it next week, then you finish it next week. It's up to you. I wouldn't wait too long because it will, generally speaking, the last one, the last assignment that we do based on the Dreamweaver lessons causes students the most consternation, that causes has the most problems. So allow yourself adequate time to build a couple of pages and be prepared to start over if you have to, if that makes sense.
And the Moby Rise, it should be like the one we did with the Wix, or is it totally different?
Well, it will be, okay. It's similar to Moby Rise or to Wix, but a little bit different.
Oh yeah, I get that, but I meant like the information. Like,
yeah, just use the same information if you want. If you want to add information, you can. If you don't, that's okay too.
okay, thank you. Cool.
Yeah, just that you're using Moby Rise to build it. And it will be apparent to me when I see it that it was built in Moby Rise and not in Wix. Moby Rise websites have sort of a distinct look about them. And again, if you want to use a single page for your Moby Rise, and make sure though that at the top you still have links to each of the sections, and you can link to let me switch to my website so you'll see what I'm talking about. Hold on here. I have to, let's go ahead here. And I'm going to go to this one. Okay, so I'm going to share a different page now. I'm going to go in here, and this is the page that I want to share. So this is the one, my personal page that I did in MobiRise. And you'll notice that I have my nav bar along the top. This is my home page, which is what you're looking at the moment. I have an about page, and I have a portfolio and a contact us. If you want, in MobiRise, you can turn on this little arrow, and it just drops you down to the next section. But you'll notice that these links, they just scroll up and down the page. So I still have all the 4 elements. If I go to the portfolio, it just scrolls to that page, to that section. If I click the about, it scrolls to that section. And notice that I've added these little twirlies here. This is equivalent to what you would do in lesson 12. It's these little compact drop-down menus, or not menus, but drop-down content that can be added using Bootstrap. But it's a nice compact way of adding content. So that's what I've done. And then they have the slideshows for you, so you can build your own slideshow in here. And when you click on it, it enlarges, and you can go forwards and you can go backwards. Okay. Let me see, somebody else has a question here. Chat. Okay, so Diego's heading out. That's all I wanted to know. Okie doke. Any other questions here? No, let me go ahead and stop sharing. Let's go back. No other questions for today? You guys hanging in there okay? Anybody? Oh, there is one. Brian, are you there? Brian? Yeah, Brian. Since you have a Google Chromebook and you're unable to install the Adobe software, do you think you might have a solution for that? Would you be able to borrow a computer from someone else to install the software? You will be able to or not? Brian, you there? Oh, I see. Well, if that is doable to return the Chromebook, it probably would be a better choice, but I understand that, you know, that's a cost issue. And if you don't have the money, then you don't have the money. Unfortunately, the school at the moment is equivocating. They're not sure how or if they can help students like yourself to supply you with a temporary laptop or anything. They haven't, there are no recommendations at the moment. They do, Alex. They have a program for that. Where should he go? Cerritos Cares? Okay. Okay. Do you see this, Brian? Just a minute. Alex here is going to share a link with you. I'm going to pause the recording.